Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Victor Davis Hanson Show. I'm Jack Fowler, the host. I think I'm the host. But the star, you're not here for the host. You're here for the star, the namesake, Victor Davis Hanson, who is the Martin and Ely Anderson Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution and the Wayne and Marsha Buskey Distinguished Fellow in History at Hillsdale College. He's a best-selling author. He is a military historian, a classicist. He has a website, The Blade of Perseus. Its address is victorhanson.com. I will tell you why later in the show. You should be subscribing. Victor has talked a lot the last couple of episodes, of course, about the fires in California with the great Sammy Wink, but we still have much more to discuss about that catastrophe, ongoing catastrophe, as we talk here on Saturday, January 11th. This particular episode will be up on the 14th. But we're going to begin today's episode talking about the verdict, the Judge Merchan's verdict, ruling against Donald Trump, some irony about Donald Trump, and then full-blown into the fires. And we're going to do all this when we come back from these important messages. We are back with the Victor Davis Hanson Show. Victor, I'm going to read a little from today's New York Post. Again, this is January 11th, and this is Jonathan Turley and his assessment of Judge Merchan's, what the headline, one of the headlines is the Merchan Bragg hit job. And here's what Turley writes. On Friday, that was yesterday in real time as we're talking, the sentencing of President-elect Donald Trump saw one of the most impassioned defense arguments given at such a hearing in years from the judge himself. Acting Justice Juan Merchan admitted that the case was, quote-unquote, unique and remarkable, but insisted that, quote, once the courtroom doors were closed, the trial itself was no more special, unique, and extraordinary than the other 32 cases in the courthouse. If so, says Turley, that is a damning indictment of the entire New York court system. Almost done here. Merchan allowed a dead misdemeanor to be resuscitated by allowing Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg to effectively prosecute declined federal offenses. Victor, this is a travesty, but I think it, like everything else that tries to hurt Donald Trump, it may help Donald Trump. But what are your thoughts, Victor?
Everything so far has made Donald Trump stronger. As I said before, he's a Nietzschean figure that the more you try to destroy him unfairly, the stronger he gets. Everyone who's looked at this case, even people like John Fetterman and people on the left, Mr. Epstein, who was a Congressional Democratic Counsel, have said it's a joke. It was a federal offense if it was an offense, and the feds thought it was not. So then he bootstrapped that onto a state offense. There's nothing wrong with having a non-disclosure form. And the whole case centered around the idea that he wanted to get Donald Trump, and he was in competition with Letitia James, Attorney General, and Fani Willis, the Georgia prosecutor, and Jack Smith, all of whom have disgraced themselves. And he thought that he could come up with this novel idea that even though the feds said that Donald Trump had not violated federal campaign laws, that the fact that he had had a non-disclosure form with Stormy Daniels and had not reported it as a campaign expenditure, then he was going to call that a felony, and then each time that he did not report it on a form would be another felony, and then he could say there were 34 or 33 felonies and make it psychodramatic, and that's what he did. And he was biased, and we don't know what the jury count was. We were never told exactly what each jury deliberations verdict was. There were no instructions to that effect. He ruled almost 100% against every Trump motion. His daughter is making a fortune merchandising her father's name as an anti-Trump. As I said, she sells her skills as a campaign consultant, made several $1 million during the campaign cycle. I was surprised. I guess Comey Barrett and Roberts decided to join the left-wing majority and let the sentencing continue. They were not worried that the whole thing was a joke and that the purpose of it was to say that Donald Trump is the first president to be a convicted felon, and that's what they got. Or maybe they think, well, we'll save our ammunition, and when the whole case comes up, not just the sentencing on appeal, then we will reverse it. But it's a joke. It's why people don't trust the judicial system. Anybody, any major corporation, any major controversial figure who's conservative in New York, you're going to butt heads with Alvin Bragg or Letitia James or a federal prosecutor in the DOJ, and you're going to be in trouble. And so you shouldn't do business there. You should get out. And that's what's going to happen. People are fleeing New York. So the problem with all these things is we're going to talk about in a minute with the LA fire. They seem sustainable until they're not. And so when you get this many people and that much capital leaving New York City and state, everything seems okay for a while, and then it doesn't. And the same thing with crime. You let in 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million illegals, and then when you get let in 5, the whole thing falls apart. These people have wrecked the country, and under the guise of DEI and woke. And I think people are going to hold them accountable. They have no choice. If they don't hold them accountable, there's no country left. Yeah. You can't have a country where a rogue prosecutor invents new crimes.